All right, hello everyone. Welcome to the Rums of Puerto Rico Taste of Rum Pop-Up Tour, live tonight from Doña Habana in Boston. So my name is Will Hookinga. I'm from Zavvi.co, and I'm just here to kind of welcome you to the live stream tonight. So my partner at Zavvi.co is Federico Hernandez. He runs the Taste of Rum Festival every year in Puerto Rico, and he has partnered with the Rums of Puerto Rico program to bring this pop-up version of the festival to the States in a limited, socially distanced, safe capacity this year. So Fede is at Doña Habana right now with Ramon Diaz, who is the ambassador for the Rums of Puerto Rico program. They're getting everything set up. People are coming in and being seated and stuff right now. So they're kind of putting everything in place that we'll need in order to broadcast the presentation live for you. I'm back home in Nashville helping kind of coordinate everything while they get set up and giving you a quick introduction tonight. So before they do get started, I just want to share with you a little bit about both the Taste of Rum Festival and the Rums of Puerto Rico program. And we'll start with the Rums of Puerto Rico program since it's been around the longest. And by the way, if you're just joining us, as I said, I'm just giving an introduction before the live stream begins. Rums of Puerto Rico is getting set up at Doña Habana. So grab a glass of rum, settle in, find a good spot in your house to watch from. I'm enjoying a glass of Don Q's, trying to get this in front of the camera, sherry cask finish rum. So this is one of the newer, probably within the last couple of years or so, that Don Q has started doing these releases, some single barrels. They have the sherry cask finish, which is excellent. I really like it, just really easy to sip on. As I said, I've got my glass right here. They also have a vermouth cask finish, which is excellent. So grab a glass of Puerto Rican rum to celebrate the spirit of the festival and settle in. So to share a little bit about the Rums of Puerto Rico program, and I'll leave most of that to Ramon, who is part of the program and knows far more about it than I do, I'm sure. But essentially, Rums of Puerto Rico is a government program that goes back to the 1940s. It was started by the Puerto Rico Industrial Development Company, basically to promote the Puerto Rican rum industry, help it maintain certain production standards, which I'm sure you'll hear about in just a minute. So the current director of the program is a woman named Alexandra Salgado. And the way she described it to me, I've interviewed Alexandra a number of times and talked to her a lot about the program and its history. And basically the way that she described it to me is it's like a small marketing agency within a government agency, because essentially what they do is they help the rum brands in promotions, marketing. They give them incentives to do their own marketing. They don't control or own the distilleries or tell them what to do or anything like that. They basically exist to promote the industry as a whole, because it's a very important industry to the Puerto Rican economy for a number of reasons. And actually, if you go back, I mentioned the program started in the 40s, and if you look at history of the 40s in Puerto Rico and the rum industry, you'll start to see the government making a lot of really big investments in promoting the rum industry back then. And part of the reason for that, and I won't get too in the weeds and all this, but basically there's something called the rum tax cover-over in the relationship between Puerto Rico and the United States, where distilleries of any kind of spirit, when they make it, they pay an excise tax to the government on a per gallon basis of their spirits. And what the cover-over does is any rum that is exported from Puerto Rico to the mainland United States, the federal U.S. government returns that excise tax that the distilleries have paid to the Puerto Rican government. So the government can then invest that in the economy. So in the 40s, that was a lot of infrastructure things, building roads, schools, hospitals, great things like that to build up the economy. And they also use some of those funds now to promote the rum industry as well. So you have this kind of virtuous cycle of investment back into the economy. And interestingly, what happened in the 40s was during World War II, all the whiskey distilleries in the mainland United States stopped making whiskey to manufacture things like alcohol for the war effort and things like that. And so whiskey sales in the U.S. obviously went way down. And Puerto Rican rum kind of came in and really filled that gap. Puerto Rican rum sales went through the roof during that time period. And as I mentioned, because of that excise tax going back to the government, obviously the rum industry was pouring a lot of money into the government at that time. When the war ended, the whiskey distilleries came back. Sales of Puerto Rican rum in the mainland United States started to go down. And so that's when the Puerto Rican government started establishing things like the Rums of Puerto Rico program. That's when they started establishing more standards for quality of product and things like that, and really started making these investments into the industry to, you know, and that line through history goes all the way to today, where we have things like the Taste of Rum Festival, which, as I mentioned, my partner Federico puts together every year in Puerto Rico. The Rums of Puerto Rico program has been a sponsor of that for a long time. And I'd really encourage you, especially if you live in Puerto Rico, or even better yet, if you live in the mainland United States like I do, it is worth a trip out of your way to go there. I attended, it was actually one of the last normal public things I was able to do this year before coronavirus and the pandemic started, and, you know, shutdowns and everything. It was in early March. So, you know, I think right after I left Puerto Rico is when lots of shutdowns and things like that started happening. But it's a wonderful festival. I think this past year there were 12 different Puerto Rican rum brands there. You know, some of the older ones that have been around for a very long time, like as I mentioned earlier, Don Q, of course, was there. Also, what else do I have here? Ronda Barrilito was also there. Companies with very long histories in Puerto Rico. But you also have a lot of the newer distilleries that have really just started up within the last 10 years or so that are very exciting, that have a presence there as well. Places like San Juan Artisan Distillers, places like Destilería Coquí, which is on the west coast of the island in Mayaguez. I actually have one of their rums right here that I was able to take back. Yeah, so there's obviously rum at the Taste of Rum Festival, but there's also music, there's food. They have educational seminars and things like that. I actually sat in on a really great one led by Hiker Soto, who is the master blender at Destilería Serrayes, who showed a lot of these Don Q rums. So yeah, it was this past year. It was in Old San Juan at Bahia Urbana, I think. So beautiful outdoor waterfront location. You just really can't beat the setting of a place to, you know, try a lot of different rums in and you know, have fun with people, listen to great music. It's really great. So if you go to tasteofrums.com, I believe you can get all the information you need for, you know, when the next one will be. Obviously, some of that is being determined right now. And so in the meantime, we're able to do things like this Taste of Rum pop-up tour, which, as I said, if you're just joining us now, I'm just kind of giving a quick introduction as everything gets set up at Doña Habana in Boston. And so if you look at the graphic on the screen right now, so tonight, the Rums of Puerto Rico program is in Boston. Tomorrow night, they'll be going to New York City at Nobody Told Me, and then Saturday afternoon to Philadelphia before finishing Sunday afternoon in Washington, D.C. We'll be broadcasting all of these live from savvy.co. So if you're not in any of those cities or not able to attend, you can follow Rums of Puerto Rico on Facebook, get all the information that you need there. But as we're kind of getting ready, so I've mentioned a couple of different distilleries that Rums of Puerto Rico promotes on the island. And I want to show you just a few. We have some short presentations that the Rums of Puerto Rico program put together about some of those distilleries. So as we're waiting right now, like I said, it'll be just a few more minutes before they're ready. So if you're at home, grab a glass of rum, find a nice place to sit. And while we wait, I'm going to take you behind the scenes. Actually, there's a number of different distilleries we have here, but let's start at the distillery that made this rum that I'm enjoying right now. So this is a little bit about Destilería Serrayes and the Rums of Puerto Rico program and their relationship. Enjoy.
Our story began with my great-great-great-grandfather. It was a gentleman named Sebastián Serralles. He was from Catalonia in the northeastern part of Spain. And for reasons that we still don't know, he either was very adventurous or was running away from the law, or for whatever reason, he got on a ship and crossed the Atlantic Ocean and settled on the south side of the island in Ponce in a small, he started a small sugarcane operation. He has a son here in Puerto Rico. His name is Juan Serralles, my great-great-grandfather. And Juan was really the one that grew the business. He was a very shrewd businessman, very aggressive, and he basically started buying smaller sugar mills surrounding his father's old mill. And by the time Juan was done, really, he was the one that really grew the business into one of the largest sugar operations in the Caribbean. That's sort of where the story starts. Now, what's the relationship with rum? Well, rum is made from the byproduct of sugar making operations. In the Caribbean, the more sugar you're making, the more molasses you're producing, because molasses is simply what's left over when you can no longer extract sugar from sugarcane juice. So Juan, being the entrepreneur that he was, he said, you know what? I'm sure we can get a value add from this molasses. And he ordered a copper still from France. And that's how he started making his first casks of rum around the 1860s. The first invoice we have that we can prove we started selling rum was 1865.
There are 4, even 5 pillars, really, when you talk about making the best rum in the world. Because you start with the molasses, our raw material. You cannot produce a good rum without good molasses. After that, you have fermentation and distillation. You can say that probably those are one together, because fermentation fits the distillation process. We have our own yeast recovered back in 1934, and we have been using that wonderful yeast. And you go into the distillation. In our case, it's a continuous distillation process. And the continuous distillation process allows you to balance the process, to have equilibrium. And once you have that, you can keep producing the same sensory character, the same components in the rum. You can control what you get out of the products. You can control what you allow to stay in the product that later on will help you in the aging process.
When you are aging your rum here in the tropics, specifically here in Ponce, our angel losses is so high, up to 8%. If you compare our angel losses with the losses in other latitudes, our rum is going to be aged 4 times faster. What it means? Quality. What it means? Consistency. What it means? Profile. What it means? Body, roundness, smoothness.
And during that aging process, beautiful aromas, beautiful tastes really are born inside that bottle. And those are the ones that you use later in the blending and in making your rum. Along all those processes, you have quality. The main objective is to keep the quality always first. Because that rum is going to represent our brand, it's going to represent the company, but above all, it's going to represent Puerto Rico in front of the world.
In Puerto Rico, we make high-quality rums, so having a standard, just anything that actually says, seal of approval, this is a quality standards aged rum, it's a message that will transcend to all consumers throughout the world. And it's a project that we've been very supportive of. We are, because again, it's protecting what is our denomination, Puerto Rico. We can own that, and we can establish Puerto Rico as truly the rum capital only if we have the right standards and the right sort of certifications to prove that, kind of like Champagne did, the way the Scottish whiskeys have done in the past. So I think it's absolutely a great project. We're really excited to have it in our bottles, and we look forward to pushing that message throughout the world.
All right, man, that was great. Roberto Serralles and Hiker Soto, 2 of my favorite people to learn about Puerto Rican rum from. So if you're just joining us, we're about to go now to Doña Habana in Boston. I think they are ready for us over there. So I'm going to bring Ramon Diaz, who is the ambassador for the Rums of Puerto Rico program, onto the screen now as they get their presentation going. So let's bring them to the screen in just a second. It looks like they're getting the camera situated down there. All right, here we go.
Okay, Ramon.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Rum of Puerto Rico Pop-Up Tours. This is our, the first stop of the tour, our first seminar of the year. This is the COVID-19. Today we are here in Boston. This is our first stop. Then we're gonna be in New York, Philly, and then Washington D.C. in this way. Today we are talking about what is wrong with Puerto Rico, that's the first. And then we are gonna talk about rum in Puerto Rico and in other parts of the world. So we are gonna finish with a tasting, and of course you're gonna have different courses of the food. We're gonna taste 3 different brands of Puerto Rico. As first we're gonna taste Bacardi, that is the best-selling rum in the world. Then we're gonna taste Don Q, that is the best-selling rum in the island in Puerto Rico. Of you speak Spanish. Woo! That's good, that's good. I love of you. Who speak only English? One? Okay, so we can make this seminar like Spanglish. No, we're gonna talk a little bit of English because I got one person only talk English. But if you got any question in Spanish, I can answer the question in Spanish. So that doesn't matter. So at first, how do you feel tonight? No, that's not enough. So you're ready for drink rum?
Yes. Can you hear it? Can you hear it?
All right, that's
Does it
fair.
sound better now?
We got rum is a lot different.
Does it sound better?
Right? So let me talk a little bit of Rum of Puerto Rico. Rum of Puerto Rico is a government program that promotes all the Puerto Rican brands and promote all the brands in the United States. And why do you think the Rum of Puerto Rico or the government of Puerto Rico promotes rum? So a lot of people, said, the government promoting rum? Why do you think is the government make that or do that? Profit taxes. That's right, taxes. So what happened? All the rum that are sold to the United States pay taxes. And we got an agreement with the government of the United States, and they do a kickback to the government of Puerto Rico. That represents more than $300 million a year, only in taxes. So I got a lot of Puerto Rican here. If you like, to help a little bit of the economy of Puerto Rico, we passed for 2 different hurricanes, then earthquakes, and now, COVID-19. If you like to help a little bit the economy of Puerto Rico, I'm gonna make it very easy for all of you. Only you need to drink a lot of Puerto Rican rum. That's easy. You can do that, right? I know you can do that. So that's why the government of Puerto Rico, do all that promotion in the United States. So what else? We are the biggest rum producer in the world. Not a lot of people, know that, but Puerto Rico is the biggest rum producer in the world. So nobody in the world produces more rum than Puerto Rico. We got the biggest distillery rum in the world, that is Bacardi Catania. So that is very important too. But we're gonna, talk about rum. So I got some questions. And if you answer the question, the people that answer the question, I got gift. I got some gift. So you need to raise your hand, and the people, that answer the question have a gift. And I got my first question. If you would like to make rum, what you need first? What you need to do first? Sugarcane, you need sugarcane, of course. Oh, I got a winner! Well, you need sugarcane. That's the basic, for make rum. That's the first one. But if you would like to make rum, you can make rum with sugarcane juice. You can make rum with sugarcane syrup, and you can make rum with sugarcane molasses. In Puerto Rico, by law, if you would like to make rum, you need to make rum by sugarcane molasses. If you would like to say that you are a Puerto Rican rum, you need to make your rum by sugarcane molasses. We got a lot of regulations to make rums. Remember, we are the biggest rum producer in the world. We are proud of our rums. So the government have a lot of regulation to make rums. So I'm gonna explain all that regulation, when we are pass for all the way that we make rums. So we got that seal. So if you look the back of this label of the Bacardi bottle, have a seal. There's a quality seal. That means that product have all the regulation that Puerto Rico have to make rum. You can make rum made in Puerto Rico, but if you don't have the seal or your bottle says Puerto Rican rum, you don't have all the regulations. So you need the sugarcane, right? And what I need to do with that sugarcane? I cut the sugarcane, I squeeze it, take out the juice, and then we need to heat it a little bit. When we heat it, we lose water, and we got the syrup. We can make rum with the syrup, but in Puerto Rico, we need melassa. So what we need to do, we need to heat a little bit more, lose more sugar, start to crystallize. We got some crystal of sugar. We take out all that crystal, and what we got? Raw sugar and molasses as a byproduct. So that's the base for baked rum. So what's the next step? I got the molasses. What I need to do? Not yet. Not yet. Fermentation. Who said fermentation? I got another winner. So fermentation. We need to ferment it. And how are we gonna ferment it? Well, we're gonna add some water to the molasses. We're gonna add some yeast. We start to heat a little bit for about 2 days. If we would like to make a white rum. But if we would like to make, an aged rum, maybe a week. For 7 days, in the fermentation process. And in that process, we got about 6 to 10% of alcohol. But that's enough for a rum? No. So I need more alcohol, of course. So for 6 to 10%, maybe for a beer, maybe for a wine. But it's not enough for making a rum. So what we need to do? Distillation. Of course, distillate. Who said distillation? Okay. So we need to distill. And how we gonna distill? You can distill in pot still or column distillation. In Puerto Rico, we distill in column distillation. Remember, when you distill in pot still, you distill in batch. When you distill in column distillation, you are continuously distilling the product all the time. That don't stop, never. So we are the biggest rum producer in the world. So we distill a lot of rum. So then, what's the next step to make rum? Aging process, that's right.
My wife.
Aging process. So this is the most important part to make rum, the aging. So if you would like a very good product, You need to wait. Wait and keep waiting. In Puerto Rico, by law, you need to age at least 1 year to make a white rum. Today, we're gonna tasting rum about 10 years, 12 years. We got 60-year-old rums in a regular aging process, not Solera process, in an aging regular process. That's another difference.
What's going on?
So, what's going on with the aging?
Yeah, why not just drinking today?
Well, because you want flavor in your rum. When you age in Puerto Rico, we age in American white oak barrels. Some of them primarily used for bourbon, others primarily used for sherry from Spain. And we got our organoleptic process happen inside that barrel. That's the most important. And what is the organoleptic process? When we are taking color, flavor, and aroma of the wood. In Puerto Rico, we lose 6 to 10% in evaporation every year. 6 to 10%, that's a lot of money. Every year, so we got here a 12-year rum. So what happened with that barrel 12 years? What left inside the barrel? Just a little bit. So that costs money, but we got a very good product with a lot of flavors. So that's important. If you compare aging in Puerto Rico or in the Caribbean, maybe with Scotland with the Scotch, in Scotland, they lose only 2% of evaporation. But what happened with the wood of the barrel when it's cold? The wood contract. And what happened when the wood is contract? The liquor can't go inside the wood. But what happened when it's hot? The wood expands. And what happened when the wood expands? The liquor can go inside the wood, taking color, flavor, and aroma. In the Caribbean, in Puerto Rico, how is the weather all the year? Hot. So what happened is so what happened all the year in Puerto Rico? We are taking color, flavor, and aroma all the year. So if we age 1 year in Scotland, they need 3 to 4 years to take the same color, the same flavor, and the same aroma. So that's why maybe you can find some Scotch 21 years Scotch. They lose only 2% of Scotch, and they need to age a lot of time to take in all that flavor, to have all that flavor. In Puerto Rico, what happened if I got a rum for 21 years? Nothing left in the barrel. So how much do you think that costs a bottle of 20 years? $3,000 the bottle. Like the reserva of the la familia de Don Q, de Serrayet. $3,000 for a bottle. That's the reason that you can find, a lot of rum with 21 years if you are in the Caribbean. So you need to take care, because sometimes you got a rum like this one we got here, Bacardi 10. And what do you think that means, that 10?
Only one drop of a 10-year-old rum, no?
No, that's what do you think? What do you think that means, that this 10 in the label?
10 years in the barrel.
10 years in the barrel?
No.
What happened with this 10? That means the youngest rum in the bottle. But remember, this is in Puerto Rico, because in Puerto Rico we got regulation to make rums. Not in all or in other part of the world have regulation to make rums. So that's depend where are making the rum. So like I said, I never like to talk about names or brands, but maybe you can find some rum that have 21 or 23 in the label, but are not made, are not in Puerto Rico. What happened? Maybe it's a blend, 6 to 21 years, and they got a 21. I know another brand that have a 25 in the label, and if you take the bottle of the shell, you say, "Oh, this is a very good rum, 25 years." But read the back. No, it's the 25th anniversary. 25th anniversary? That's right. So look like a joke, right? I know another one that have a 12, and you said, "Ah, 12-year-old rum, maybe a good rum." But no, it's a blend of 12 different distilleries. A blend of 12 different distilleries? Well, in Puerto Rico, we can't do that. No way. By law, if we got a number in the bottle, that means the youngest rum in the bottle, always. So that's very important, You got a very quality rum if you buy a Puerto Rican rum. We got the perfect weather, losing 6 to 10% every year. So we lose all that rum, we call it the angel chair. And why do you think we call it the angel chair? Va para el cielo. We share with the angels. So I swear, we got a lot of drum angels in the top of Puerto Rico. We are the biggest rum producer in the world. So that's another part of the aged rum in Puerto Rico. What else? What we need to do next? With aging, we got all that regulation. You need to age at least 1 year. You got a number that's the youngest. So what else? What's the next step? Well, it's blending. Then we're gonna bottle it. But the next step is blending. So what is the blending process? If we got a rum like Rum del Barrilito, this is a blended rum. It's a blend 6 to 10 years old. So we got some barrels, 6, 8, 9, 10, blended in a batch, and we make our recipe of Barrilito. Also, we need to add some water. That's another important part of the baked rum. Remember, if this is 40% of alcohol, that means that it's 40% of the bottle alcohol, 60% water. So the water is very important. In the case of Donku, they take the water of the river Inabon, or a river. In the case of Barrilito, they use rainwater. So that's depend, and that's very important, very important part. Remember, is 60% of your water is water. So we need to do the blending. And then we need to bottle. And what's the next step? The most important. Drinking. So let's gonna drink some rum. Woo! All right. So
there's one process that we're filtration.
Oh, yes. Very important, the filtration process. Well, What color you think that is the rum when you take this rum from the bottle? Dark? Clear?
And gold.
Like gold? Amber, maybe? So that's depend how many times you got that spirit inside the bottle. If you got more time in the bottle, the color is gonna make more darker, right? But what happened with the white rum? It's filtered with charcoal. So, in the case of Bacardi, we age about, it's a blend 1 and 2 years old. It's a blend 1 and 2 years old, then we're gonna filter with charcoal and take out all the color, a little bit of flavor, and a little bit of aroma. And why do you think all the distilleries start to make white rum? You don't know why?
Because they use it for mixing.
The white rum is very good for mix. That's one of the reasons. But the reason was that when the vodka started, to increase all the sales, the rum need, a product more neutral in the flavor, can compete with the vodka. So compete directly with the vodka. In my case, I like better the aged rums, but the white rum is the best seller in the world. And why? Because with the white rum, you can mix in a lot of cocktails. The aged rum, you can make some cocktail with aged rum, of course, but most to drink on the rocks or neat. Okay, so let's gonna drink some rum. Let me take out this. Ok. ¿Qué vamos a hacer? Importante. ¿Qué es lo primero que vamos a hacer cuando estamos haciendo un catado? Primero vamos a mirar. We're going to look at. We need to look at. And what we're going to look at? We're going to look the tear. Vamos a mirar la lágrima. Mientras más rápido baja la lágrima, significa que tiene menos tiempo añejado. Mientras más lento baja la lágrima, significa que es un ron de mayor cuerpo, con más cuerpo. We need to look the color, the shininess of the rum, and of course the tear. What's the second step? We need to smell it, of course. You can smell with one side of your nose first, or you can smell with the both sides of your nose. You very slowly, or you can have the two hands and you can breathe by your mouth and your nose at the same time. Wow. Wow. So which one you like better? One side, both, or with the mouth and the nose? You like the mouth and the nose? You never done that? Here, which one you like better? Both of them? No? Okay. And there, which one you like better? The first one side? Okay, that's perfect. So, first, this one is Don Q. Don Q Gran Añejo. So talking a little bit about Don Q is the best-selling rum in the island, the best-selling rum in Puerto Rico. And Tokyo started to produce rum in 1865. So more than 155 years making rums. Spanish family established in Ponce, Puerto Rico, in the south of the island. And start to produce rum. Well, first start to produce sugarcane. And then, they got the melaza. And you don't want to, throw out the melaza or maybe feed some cow. No, we're gonna make what? We're gonna make rum. That's better, right? So they start to make rum in 1865, more than 155 years. So this rum is aged, is a blend, 6 to 12 years old. No, sorry, 9 to 12 years old. De locura añejo. It's a blend 9 to 12. But also use a solera aging process up to 55 years in cherry casks. So use a blend 9 to 12 in American white oak barrels, Canadian whiskey, and bourbon. It's a blend. And then a solera aging process up to 55 years in cherry casks. So, salud. Nice. Okay. The second cup. Okay. Perfect. The second one was the one that have the green dot. The green dot. You got two orange? We need to change one of the cup. So the second one. So that's perfect. So the second one is Bacardi 10. Bacardi. So let's talk a little bit of Bacardi. Yes. Yes, the green one. Let's talk a little bit of Bacardi. Bacardi started to produce rum in 1862. More than 157 years. It's a Spanish family too. Established first in Santiago de Cuba. So the people think that Bacardi, of the family of Bacardi, moved to Puerto Rico because the revolution, because Castro. But that's not true. No.
Tell me the truth.
Bacardi opened a second distillery in 1936 in Old San Juan in Puerto Rico first in Edificio Ochoa, in Ochoa building. At front of the Pier 1, when the cruise ship, and at front of the Pier 1 in Ochoa building. So then, that was in 1936, remember. In 1959, Castro, take the power of Cuba, and in the 1960s, they take over the distillery of Bacardi, the Bacardi distillery. Yeah, then they moved to Puerto Rico and stayed with the distillery that have in Puerto Rico since 1936. So remember, in the Prohibition era, 1990 to 1933, Bacardi was famous because a lot of people in the United States travel to Cuba in the weekends for drink rum because we got the law that we can, consume any liquor in the Prohibition era. And all the United States people travel in the weekend for drink rum, party, and what else? Women's. That's part of the history. That's right. So Bacardi started to make it famous in the United States. And when the Prohibition ended in 1933, they start to, think how can, get the product inside the United States. So open the second distillery in 1936 to export all the rum to the United States. As now, Bacardi have the biggest distillery in the world in Cataño, Puerto Rico. So,
Are there any
well, yes and no. Bacardi have another distillery in Mexico, but as now it's closed. Closed about, I don't know, maybe 3 or 4 years ago.
Oh, okay. The reason I was asking, I was wondering if they make rum outside of Puerto Rico, if they have to follow the Puerto Rican regulations.
No. Well, no, but they make it's not a regulation from Mexico, but they make it as the same way, But as now, the only distillery that have working today in the world is the Puerto Rican distillery. The distillery from Puerto Rico. So this one is a 10-year-old rum, aged in American white oak barrels, primarily used for bourbon. So cheers. Sí. Seguro. So which one you like better? Bacardi or Don Q? Don Q? Don Q? Bacardi?
They're both differently delicious.
That's right. That's right.
Get in the hat! Get in the hat! Get in the hat!
So I got all the winners! I got all the winners! Both are different way delicious. That's right.
This is like very spicy.
This one is a little bit more spicy. That's correct. A hat? So I got another winner, okay?
Oh, thank you.
Perfect. All right. So let's gonna talk a little bit of Ron del Barrilito. Ron del Barrilito is the orange dog. Have the orange dog in the cup. Okay, let's talk a little bit of Ron del Barrilito. Ron del Barrilito started to produce rum in 1880. In 1880, the owner was Pedro Fernandez. If you look the label here, you got the PNF. What happened? We got the PNF. That's been Pedro Fernandez. Pedro Fernandez. So first, all the people know the rum as a Fernandez rum. So what happened? When Pedro Fernandez had this in his home, Pedro Fernandez had a special rum in a special bottle in the back of the house. I give it rum del barrilito, rum of the little bottle, to that special guest. So what happened? The mouth spread in the town. And when Pedro Fernandez had this in his home, and Pedro Fernandez gives Fernandez rum, the guest says, I don't want Fernandez rum. I want rum del barrilito that you got in the back. Rum of the little bottle. So all the people know this rum as a rum del barrilito, rum of the little bottle. And what happened? Edmundo Fernandez, his son, changed the name as a rum del barrilito. Also, this is barrilito 3-star. Barrilito have barrilito 2-star, 3-star, now have 4 and 5 stars. They got this little angel, that's a cherub, un querubín. En la mitología griega, in Greece, this cherub have food in his hands because this is the angel that gives the food for the gods. They changed the food for a bottle because they said this is the rum of the gods. This rum is aged 6 to 10 years old, but it's a lot different to Bacardi and Dunkin'. And why? This one is aged in cherry cask from Spain. Also, have another step, very different to Bacardi and Dunkin', have a maceration process with different dry fruits and spices. And use this maceration process and add a little bit like 1% of the bottle have this maceration process with different kind of dry fruits and spices. So it's different to Bacardi and Dunkin'. Bacardi and Dunkin' don't make this step.
What type of water they use?
So, rainwater. Rainwater, yes. So it's a little bit different to Bacardi and Dunkin'. So let's gonna taste barrilito, rum del barrilito. So look this here. Look, miren esa lágrima. Qué lento va bajando. Come down very, very, very slowly. Why? Because this one is a full body rum. Bacardi and Dunkin' are light to medium body. Rum del barrilito is more like a medium to full body rum. The aroma, a little bit more sweet. You feel a little bit of vanilla, right? Maybe vanilla. Spices. Some chocolate. So let's gonna taste it. Salud. Wow. How you feel that? Strong? Is it strong? Is it stronger than Bacardi and Dunkin'? Because that one is 43% of alcohol, 86 proof. It's an overproof rum. So you can feel more, more stronger. That's right. So which one you like better, Bacardi, Dunkin', or Rum del Barrilito? Dunkin'? The green one? Bacardi? The first one? Dunkin'?
Inteligentemente all three.
So I got another winner! Por allá. Which one you like better? Barrilito? There, which one you like better? Bacardi, Don Q, or Barrilito? Don Q? Barrilito? Here, which one you like better? Barrilito? There. Bacardi?
Whichever I have in my hand.
There you go.
That's my next question. So, I got another question. I got a question. Why? Rum of Puerto Rico made all that promotion in the United States.
Let's get back at Carlos.
Because the money, because all the taxes. Remember, we have about more than $300 million a year only in taxes. So we do all that promotion because we want to all the people that live in the United States drink a lot of Puerto Rican rum. So I don't have more hats. Let me check if I got something else. Something left here. Okay. I got another question. This is a very easy question. So, tell me at least 4 different Puerto Rican rums. 4. 4. Bacardi? Don't you? Sorry? We used to make that rum, before, but now it's made in San Francisco. Barrilito? You one left. One left. Palo Viejo! All right, Palo Viejo. Serrayer family made Palo Viejo in Ponce, Puerto Rico, in the south of the island. That's right. So, I got another question. How many we lost in evaporation every year?
10%.
12%. 15%. 60%.
No. 6 to 10 years. 6 to 10% of alcohol. 6 to 10. No. All right. So another question. I need to know at least 3 different regulations to make rum in Puerto Rico. We need to use melasa. El más viejo es más joven. ¿Cómo es eso? The number in the bottle is the youngest rum in the bottle. That's right. You got 2.
The seal in the bottle.
Well, no, that's because you're following all the regulations.
Yes. But you need to age at least
1 year.
At least 1 year.
Thank you.
No, I got No, that's important. So you need to age. You need to age at least 1 year. You need to use melaza as a base. And the number in the bottle, that means the youngest rum in the bottle. We need to distill in the column of distillation too. Okay. I got another question. Well, let me see. What's the name? That's a difficult one. What's the name? The scientific name when we are taking color, flavor, and aroma of the wood.
Absorption.
Aroma. I don't say aroma, but we think aromatization.
Oh, and I start with O. Yeah, so. Or gonna let this process on now. I hear electric process.
Yep, 100%.
100%. Or gonna electric process. Okay, and the last one. The last one. So, well, two more. Okay, let me see. Yeah, I got two more. Okay, so which one is the best rum?
Bacardi.
Bacardi?
Puerto Rico.
No, you? Rum of Puerto Rico? Oh, if you say rum of Puerto Rico, you know I got something here. Which one?
Three of them.
The three of them? So. Rum of Puerto Rico?
The best rum is the one that rum made at home, man, not the distilled stuff. Okay? It's the stuff that you get from your grandmother under the cabinet.
So that's right. The best rum is the one that you got in your glass in the moment. So winner! The best rum is the one that I got in my glass in the moment. So the last question. So what's the name of the Rum of Puerto Rico ambassador that are making the seminar here today?
What's the name?
The name of the rum ambassador that are making the seminar today. So my name.
The Peña.
Señor Piña. Señor Piña.
Yep.
El señorita Peña.
Gracias por la señorita.
I start with R.
Hola.
Which one? Ramon! Yeah, all right. So let me say thank you. Thanks all of you, for being part of the seminar. All of you do very great. You answered all the questions. So Federico, maybe you want to say something?
Yeah. Well, thanks everybody for joining us. What we're trying to do right now, we're promoting. Yeah. So what we're trying to do is promote Puerto Rico as of course, our beautiful rums that we make in our island. At the same time, we promote.
All right, everyone. Thanks so much for coming tonight. And as I mentioned, there are 3 more events coming up. Tomorrow at Nobody Told Me, New York City, Saturday in Philadelphia, and Sunday in Washington, D.C. So be sure to join us for those, and we will see you then. All right, thank you.